This video is going to be on some of the questions I'm asked continuously over and over and over daily. I'm trying to get things in order, which would be easier for me and it'd be easier to explain to you. Point in question. I had a young man reach out to me and said, "Will the buckets rust?" Question was on container gardening in buckets. My first reaction was, everybody should understand that plastic buckets don't rust. And then the light came on. Okay, he might have metal buckets. And will they rust? Yes. But here's the thing I never thought about until this came up. Some plants need rust. They need iron. So if you got plants that really needs iron to boost, put them in metal buckets, people. That's a new one for me, but it works. Now this is a overview on worm poop. As I said about the worm farm brochure, not copyrighted. You're welcome to use it. If you need it, it's just an idea of what to do and how to do it. Now, the next thing that comes up, how do you mix poo? Can you use it 100% strength? Yeah, you can. But it's been test shown by the University of, I think it was Georgia. I don't remember right offhand. But 10% of worm poop is really all you need. Anything above that, it don't really increase it that much. So you wouldn't want to waste your product. So worm poo, like I said, 10%, and that's it. You mix it with your planting salt. Now, the next one, okay, this is let's make a worm farm. Hopefully you can see it. If you can make a copy of it. It's not copyrighted. You're free to use. It tells you how to start and maintain your worm farm. Now the next thing we got here, can you make money with worms? Yes, you can. Very definitely can. You can sell the worms themselves. You can sell the poo. You can sell a worm farm, which I'm going to show right now, the worm farm. Okay? You take a container like this, okay? And if you look at the end, Dollar Tree, I think it was $5 back in the day. I'm sure it's more than that now. Now what you do with this is very easy. You get it open. Number one, I do not put the lid on it unless I'm traveling. You cut a piece of cardboard that fits down to the bottom, and you soak it with water. You put it back in the container. You put your bedding, your leaves, your grass, your food scraps. People, red wigglers are not dirt eaters. They're compost worms. So you don't want to put a lot of dirt in here. And you might mix a little compost out of your compost bin to give it a boost, but that's fine. Then you dampen it. You take another piece of cardboard and put it on top. And notice it don't fit. All right? You don't want it to fit. If you want something, the worms to come up under and be comfortable. And wet this. And those worms won't go anywhere. And notice, there's no holes in that bucket. Nowhere, anywhere, for any reason. You don't need it. If you gotta have holes to drain this bucket, you overwater. Keep it good and damp. And remember, worms will die if they are dry. They breathe through their skin. But anyway, you set this up. You can sell this with a half a pound of worms. Here again, a half a pound of worms is usually considered to be 500. It might wind up being 600 little bitty worms, 400 big worms, but 500 worms is usually considered a half pound. Okay. Once you get that half pound of worms, the container, you're looking at, oh, I reckon today's prices close to $100, people. I sell these regular. So, I mean, yeah, you can make money on your worms. And it's not that complicated. Okay. Now, where we at? Worm form poo sale. Okay, yeah, okay. Now, here, here's one that really drives me up the walls. I think people are getting gardens and farms confused. A farm, you really don't have that much control over the conditions. Oh yeah, you can add water, you can add chemical fertilizer, you can add pesticides, and yeah, you can control some of it. But it's not like a garden. A farm, I'm not gonna say never because I mean somebody's gonna scream if I do. A farm would have a lot of trouble challenging what you can grow in a small garden. I had a guy bumped me up this morning. Papa, I got a 7 by 13-foot room in my garage. I grow hydroponic only. He said, once I set it up, I control the liquid and clean it out every once in a while. He said, no work, hardly, comparative, and I harvest a lot of vegetables. If you have a short growing season, people, start your plants indoors. Uh, you don't need to wait and run out there and put them in the ground hoping the last frost is gone and it don't kill your plants. When you got different growing conditions, you need to have different growing conditions, if you follow what I'm trying to say. Uh, compost. Compost, if it's too hot where you're at, compost lowers the soil temperature by up to 20%. It depends on conditions. It conserves water if you're in a dry part of the country. When you do water your plants, the compost will stop and hold that water and cool as it evaporates through the compost. It's like it's a cooling effect. So when you have different growing conditions, you have to have different methods. And it's not that complicated. It's just a matter of, okay, what do I do? How do I do? How do I adjust? Now, the next thing that apparently was a shock to a lot of people is deep watering for your roots. This pipe right here, see the holes in it? You can buy it from the hardware like that, with holes already in it. No problem. You take it as long as you want, usually about 18 inches. Cut it, dig your hole, stick it down in your ground. Now, I reckon a little of confusion was on my part because in a couple of videos, I called it your worm tower. Then the next video, I mentioned watering tower. Same animal, different terminology. What I do, when that's in the ground and you water it in the pipe, or you can sprinkle it on the ground if you want to, but water in that pipe heavy, fill it up. Go on about your business. Come back if it soaks down, fill it up again. Do that about once or twice a week. That'll push your plant's roots deep trying to get to that water. It makes your plant stronger. You want to add a little fertilizer or food scraps? Drop it in there. Water it. your worms can go out through these holes out into the garden, and they'll come back and eat. They go back out in the garden. You actually have a worm tower and a watering tower. Now, what I use this for on my blueberries, I'll take, a quarter cup of vinegar and a gallon of water, and I'll pour that around each one of my blueberries to bring that acidity where they like it. I still have a freezer of blueberries from last year. Uh, it's really something. But anyway, that's where the confusion on that came from. That is considered, in my terminology, deep watering and a worm tower. That should hopefully stop some of that confusion. Now, pest. People come on me, but how do I handle this? Well, there's 3 or 4 different ways you can handle pests. The number one way that I don't use is run down to the hardware. I've got to eat this stuff. I'm really not interested in what they got. You can do a trap. A trap could be sticky tape, preferably yellow. For some reasons, insects seem to be drawn to yellow. I don't know why. But anyway, sticky tape, yellow if possible. Hang it around your plants. If nothing else, just plain old fly tape. You pull out and flies stick to it. You'll catch some, not a lot, but you'll catch some. All right, a water trap. You see this? I'll fill it about half full of just plain water. Insects, anything needs water that I know of. Once you get it half full of water, you bury it level with your ground. Okay? And I use that in my worm bin big time. And like I said, I'll bring it level with the ground. Right there, wherever the ground level is. Now what happens is, the insects will try to go to water and they'll drop in it. And most of them will drown. Now if the plain water is not really producing, hey, go in your kitchen, get your cinnamon, put a little pinch of cinnamon and try that. All right? You might set up 3 or 4 traps like this. Put nutmeg in one, cloves in one, allspice in one, just a little bit. Insects has an extreme sensitive smell. You don't need a whole lot. And see which one is drawing your pest the most and use it. I keep these in my worm bin. Nitwicks. I'm plagued with them. I used to be anyway. I keep these in my worm bin. And I've seen the times I'd go in there and it'd be almost full of dead nitwicks. So what do? I go out and dump it in my garden around my plants, the roots. Use them for fertilizer. That's payback time. All right. Now, another question. Pawpaw, what do you use for potting soil? All right, here I go. Okay. Potting soil. Now, let me finish before you start laughing. I will go out to my raised bed, whichever one I'm going to put this particular plant in. I scrape off some of the topsoil. I go back into my shed. I throw up maybe not a whole lot. I wouldn't say even about 5%. I'll add 5% sand to it. I go down to the hardware and buy sand you put in a kid's playpen. A bag of that'll go a long ways. All right. Then I take my worm poo and mix it. Then I take my dried grass and my leaves and my paper and I mix that in there. So now I have a potting soil. Worm poo is worse, is good if not better than peat moss on absorbing water. Worm poo can absorb a tremendous amount of water. Don't ask me why, but it will. All right. You go ahead and put all that in there and soak it. Oh, and my leaves, I've been known to rake up leaves and just pile them in my garden and let nature take its course. That's fine. When I'm doing my potting soil, I'll take a garbage can or a wheelbarrow or whatever's handy, throw the leaves in there and take my weed eater and get after it and pulverize them leaves and mix it with my potting soil. That extends your soil and you have a good soil. You've got fiber, you've got worm poop fertilized, you got the sand. People say, well, you're burning your raised bed. No, I'm not. When I plant that in my raised bed, I'm adding more than I took out. That's the way I do it. It works for me anyway. Now, this is one I get repeatedly. Papa, if you're going to use the aspirin spray or the peroxide spray or the vinegar spray, how much and how do you do it? The oldest way I can do this cautiously is tell you this. Anytime you're going to add a tea, whether it be commercial fertilized liquid, Miracle Grow, it don't matter. I don't use that stuff, but I'm adding it to the list here. You need to be cautious. A little bit more is not always better, people. You take and you mix it to whatever strength you intend to use it. And you go out there and you pour a little bit around the roots of the plant. You don't put it on the plant. All right, once you get it around the roots, you watch it for a few days. And if the plant's still going, then you go out there with a spray bottle, and I don't have a daggum spray bottle here, with a little bit of that mixture in the spray bottle, pick out a leaf or two kind of close to the ground or wherever, and spray it. Go back in a couple of days. If that leaf is not dead, you got it. But just remember, start off slow and easy. Now, another one I get a lot of questions on. Papa, your worm poop, your rabbit poop, which is chicken poop, which is the best? Well, how do you say that? They got Fords and Chevrolet. They're still a car, not the same, but they both work. But now here's the trick. Worm poop and goat manure is cold. That goat can put it on the ground. You can pick it up and set it on top of your plants. It is not going to burn them. Neither will worm poo. Fresh chicken poo, that's the dead plant, people. Hey, I mean, it'll get it quick. Chicken poo has to go through a heat. Now, if you got a big worm bin like I do, you can scoop up a little fresh poo and put it in the very corner of your worm bin. Them worms are not going to go there. If it's too hot, they're going to get away from it. But as it cools off, they go to it. And, people say let it rest a year in a compost. Give those worms 3 or 4 weeks with it. You got a good chicken worm poo mixture. Now, I've had people say, and hopefully they understand what I'm telling you. I got horses. I got all the poo I need. Yeah. What medicine are you feeding those horses? What kind of worm medicine? What kind of antibiotics? Cautious, people. If you're going to do that, you better have a compost bin way out on the side over there full of redworms and let them clean it up for you. And let it lay at least a year. I would. But other than that, people, I don't know. I'm trying to keep up with my questions, and I can't keep referring people back to the videos, the watch list. So I said, okay, what I'm gonna start doing is making notes of the most asked question, and then ship it out. And as the people look at it and think about it, they got a question, ship it back. And I'll take that video that pertains to that specific question and ship it back to you. That way, it'll start saving me time and hopefully help the people in a more efficient way. Like and subscribe. Pawpaw Sammy. So, let's go.